Hello. You're watching Global English Stories, where stories come to life and help you learn English naturally. Listen, enjoy, and start your learning journey.
Introduction. Why we celebrate work. Work is a big part of our lives. People work in farms, offices, shops, schools, hospitals, factories, and many other places. Some people build roads, others teach children. Some grow food, and others drive buses. Every job is important. Every worker helps the world move forward. But have you ever thought about who protects the workers? Who makes sure they are safe, paid well, and treated fairly? Many years ago, workers had no rights. They worked long hours for little money. They had no holidays, no rest, and no voice. Life was very hard, but then something changed. A group of brave workers stood up and said, "This is not fair." They asked for better working hours, safer jobs, and more respect. They started a big movement. They marched in the streets, spoke to leaders, and shared their stories with the world. They did not fight with weapons. They fought with words, courage, and unity. Because of them, we now celebrate Labor Day. It is a day to remember the people who made our working lives better. It is a day to say thank you to all workers. And it is a day to remember that respect, safety, and fairness should never be forgotten. In this story, you will learn about the past, the fight for workers' rights, and how Labor Day became a global celebration. You will also learn why this day is still important today for all of us. Part 1. Hard Days in the Past. A long time ago, during the 1800s, the world was changing fast. Big machines were made. Large factories opened in cities. It was the time of the Industrial Revolution. People moved from farms to cities to find jobs in these new factories. But factory life was not easy. Most workers worked 12 to 16 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week. There were no breaks, no holidays, and no sick leave. The pay was very low. People had to stand for hours, work in loud and dangerous places, and sometimes even sleep at work. Many got sick or injured, but they had no choice. They needed money to eat and live. Even children worked in these factories. Some children were only 6 or 7 years old. They worked as much as adults, but were paid even less. They were small, so they were asked to clean machines or go into tight spaces. It was very dangerous. Workers had no voice. If they asked for better pay or rest, the boss could fire them. There were no rules to protect them. If a worker died at work, the factory just found someone else. It was a dark time for many families. But slowly, people started to ask questions. They said, "Why do we work so much for so little? Why are children working instead of going to school? Why do workers get hurt and no one cares?" These questions started a new idea. The idea that work should be fair. Some workers began to form groups called unions. A union is a group of workers who come together to protect each other. They said, if we all speak together, maybe the bosses will listen. They wanted shorter working hours, safer working places, fair pay, rest days, and holidays, but this was not easy. Many factory owners did not like unions. They wanted people to work long hours and not ask questions. They fired workers who joined unions. They even called the police to stop workers from meeting or marching. Some leaders were sent to jail, but the workers did not stop. One of the biggest ideas that came from this time was the 8-hour workday. Workers wanted 8 hours of work, 8 hours of rest, and 8 hours of free time. This became a big dream for many workers around the world. By the 1880s, workers in the United States began to plan strikes. A strike is when workers stop working to show they are not happy. They wanted people to notice their pain. One of the biggest strikes happened in Chicago, and it changed history. That moment, and what happened next, became the reason we now celebrate Labor Day. But before we learn about that famous day, we must remember this. Workers were not just fighting for money. They were fighting for respect, safety, and a better life, not only for themselves, but for their children and the future. They believed that every person, rich or poor, strong or weak, has the right to work with dignity. And that belief started something powerful. Part 2, the fight for fairness. The year was 1886. And workers in the United States were tired. They worked too much and earned too little. They wanted a better life, not only for themselves, but for their families. So they decided to take a big step. On May 1st, 1886, thousands of workers in different cities went on strike. They said, "We want only 8 hours of work each day. We are not machines. We are humans." The biggest protest was in Chicago. Thousands of people walked together in the streets. They held signs. They sang songs. They shouted for justice. Their voices were strong. The protests were peaceful. The workers did not fight. They only asked for fairness. But not everyone liked this movement. Factory owners were angry. They called the police to stop the protests. Some people in power felt afraid. They thought the workers wanted to start war. But the workers only wanted respect and rights. Then something terrible happened. On May 4th, in Haymarket Square in Chicago, a large group of workers gathered for a peaceful meeting. They listened to speakers talk about workers' rights. People clapped and cheered. But then, just before the meeting ended, a bomb exploded in the crowd. No one knew who threw it. Chaos broke out. Police started shooting. People ran. Some workers and some police officers died. This moment became known as the Haymarket Affair. The news spread fast. Many people were shocked. Some blamed the workers. Others blamed the police. But one thing was clear. Workers had suffered too much for too long. After the Haymarket event, the government arrested several workers and union leaders. They were blamed for the bomb, even though there was no clear proof. Some were sent to jail. Some were even executed. It was a sad time, but something strong came from this pain. People around the world heard the story. They felt sorry for the workers. They started to understand the fight for workers' rights. Unions became stronger. More workers joined together. They said, "We must not stop. We must continue the fight for a better future." In 1889, 3 years after the Haymarket Affair, a group of workers from many countries met in Paris, France. They talked about how workers should be treated. They decided that May 1st would be a special day, a day for all workers in every country. They called it International Workers' Day, or Labor Day. This was a big moment in history. Now, every year on May 1st, workers and people all over the world remember that fight. They remember the brave workers in Chicago. They remember the dream of 8 hours for work, 8 hours for rest, and 8 hours for free time. Labor Day is not just a holiday. It is a symbol. It says that workers matter. Their voices matter. Their safety and happiness matter. It tells the story of people who had nothing, but still stood up and said, "We deserve more." Today, in many countries, people march on Labor Day. They carry flags. They wear red shirts, the color of workers' movements. They give speeches. Some ask for better pay. Some ask for safer work. Some just come to say thank you to the workers of the past. Even children in schools learn about the Haymarket Affair. They learn that the rights they enjoy today, rest breaks, safe buildings, fair pay, did not come easily. Many people had to fight without violence to win them. The fight for fairness was not only in the United States. After Labor Day became international, other countries joined the movement. People in India, the UK, Canada, South Africa, Australia, Brazil, and many more began to celebrate this day. Each country had its own workers, its own problems, and its own stories, but they all shared one dream: a better life for working people. And that dream started with the brave voices of the workers in 1886. So when you hear about Labor Day, remember, it is not just a day off. It is a day full of history, courage, and hope. It is a day to remember the power of unity when many people come together for one good reason. Part 3. A global movement. After the Haymarket Affair in the United States, the world began to change. People in many countries saw how workers had suffered. They also saw the power of workers when they stood together. The idea of Labor Day started to grow, not just in one country, but all over the world. In Canada, workers had already started to demand better conditions. In 1872, workers in Toronto went on strike. They wanted shorter hours and better pay. At that time, going on strike was illegal in Canada. But the workers were brave. They walked together, held signs, and spoke to leaders. The government listened. Soon, new laws were made to protect unions and workers. In Australia, the 8-hour day movement started in the 1850s. Builders and workers in Melbourne said, "We are not slaves. We deserve time to rest." They marched in the streets. Their movement grew fast. Soon, Many workers in Australia began to enjoy 8-hour workdays. In India, workers began to organize in the early 1900s. The country was still under British rule. Many people worked in factories, mills, and on farms. The conditions were very hard. Long hours, low pay, and no safety. Workers began to come together. In 1923, the first Labor Day celebration was held in Chennai, then called Madras. A leader named Singaravelar organized the event. Red flags were raised. Speeches were given. A new hope began to rise for Indian workers. In Europe, the Labor Day message spread quickly. In Germany, France, Spain, and Italy, workers began to hold marches and strikes. They asked for better treatment, fair pay, and more rights. Some governments were afraid of the workers' power. In some places, they tried to stop the protests, but they could not stop the idea. The workers' voices became louder every year. In Africa, South America, and Asia, workers faced many of the same problems: long hours, little pay, and unsafe conditions. But they also began to learn from each other. They heard stories about workers in other countries. They saw that change was possible. Slowly, workers' movements began to grow in every corner of the world. By the middle of the 1900s, Labor Day had become a global movement. Many countries made it a public holiday. Offices closed. Schools gave children the day off. People marched, sang songs, and listened to speeches. Newspapers and radios shared the stories of brave workers from the past. Red became the color of the workers' spirit. Red flags, red flowers, and red banners filled the streets. But Labor Day was more than just a celebration. It was a reminder that workers are the heart of the country. Without farmers, teachers, drivers, builders, doctors, and so many more, the world would stop. In many countries, Labor Day also became a day for new demands. Unions used this day to talk to leaders. They asked for new laws, higher pay, better health care, and equal rights. In some countries, people also use Labor Day to ask for peace, freedom, and justice. Sometimes, the day brought tension. In some places, police watched the marches closely. Some leaders did not like large protests, but most of the time, the day was peaceful. People held hands, chanted songs, and celebrated their unity. The strength of Labor Day came from togetherness. One person alone may be weak, but many people together are strong. That is what unions taught the world. That is what Labor Day shows every year. Even people who are not workers, students, mothers, and retired people joined the celebrations. They knew that when workers are treated well, the whole country becomes better. Over the years, Labor Day also became a time to remember history. People talked about the Haymarket Affair, the first Indian Labor Day, the early strikes in Australia, and the brave workers in Canada. These stories were passed down from parents to children, from teachers to students. And every year, the message stayed the same: respect work. Respect workers. As the world changed, work also changed. New jobs were born. People started working with computers. Some worked from home. But even with new tools and new workplaces, the meaning of Labor Day remained. It reminded everyone that no one should work in fear. No one should be treated unfairly. Every job matters. Every worker deserves safety and respect. Labor Day became more than just a tradition. It became a promise to keep fighting for fairness, no matter where you are or what job you do. Part 4. Modern Labor Day and New Challenges. Today, Labor Day is celebrated in many countries. Some call it International Workers' Day, and others simply say May Day. In the United States and Canada, Labor Day is also celebrated, but on a different date, the first Monday of September. Even though the date is different, the meaning is still the same: to honor the workers and their rights. In the modern world, work has changed. Long ago, most people worked in farms and factories. Now, many work in offices, schools, hospitals, shops, and even online. Some people work from home using computers. Some work in big cities, and some in small towns. But all workers still want the same things: fair pay, safe conditions, and respect. Because of new technology, some workers face new problems. Some lose their jobs because machines or computers do the work now. Some people work long hours in front of screens and feel very tired. Others work in the gig economy, doing short jobs like driving cars, delivering food, or writing online. These workers often don't have health care or job security. That is why Labor Day is still important. It reminds people that even in a fast-changing world, workers must be protected. Unions are still active in many countries. They speak for workers and help them get better pay, more holidays, and safer places to work. On Labor Day, many unions hold parades, meetings, and events. They share new ideas and talk about new problems. They remind the world that the fight for fairness is not over. In some countries, Labor Day is a big celebration. People gather in public places. They carry red flags and sing songs of unity. Leaders give speeches. Children perform dances. There are posters of great labor leaders from history. People remember the past and talk about the future. In other countries, Labor Day is quieter. Families spend time together. Some rest, some go to the park, and others cook special meals. But no matter how it is celebrated, the message of Labor Day stays the same. Workers are the strength of every country. The COVID-19 pandemic showed this clearly. During the lockdowns, it was the workers who helped the world continue. Doctors, nurses, delivery drivers, shopkeepers, cleaners, and teachers worked hard even when it was risky. People clapped from balconies. They said thank you to the workers who kept them safe, fed, and cared for. This gave new meaning to Labor Day. It reminded everyone that every job, big or small, is important. A cleaner in a hospital, a teacher in a small school, or a driver delivering food all make a difference. Labor Day became a time to thank everyday heroes. Today, young people are also learning about workers' rights. In schools, teachers tell the story of Labor Day. They explain what happened in Chicago, in India, in Canada, and around the world. They teach students that it is okay to ask for fair treatment. They tell them that speaking up can bring change. In some countries, there are new labor laws. Governments are trying to stop child labor. They're giving workers more breaks and helping women get equal pay. But there are still many challenges. In some places, workers are still paid too little. Some do not get enough rest. Others are afraid to speak up because they might lose their job. That is why Labor Day is not just history. It is also about the present and the future. More and more people are using social media to talk about their work. They share their problems online. They ask for help. They post videos, write blogs, and join online groups. This is the new voice of labor. Technology has created problems, but it has also created ways to connect and unite. Today, on Labor Day, people are not only remembering the past, they're also building a new future. A future where everyone earns enough to live well. Everyone is safe at work. Everyone gets rest and time with family. Everyone's work is respected. Labor Day is a day to dream, to hope, and to act. It is a time to say, we remember the past, we see the present, and we work for a better future. From the protests in the streets of Chicago to quiet meetings in small villages, from red flags in city squares to simple thank you messages online, the spirit of Labor Day continues. And that spirit lives in every worker who wakes up early, works hard, and hopes for a better tomorrow. Part 5. The Spirit of Solidarity. The most powerful part of Labor Day is not just the speeches, the flags, or the parades. It is the spirit of solidarity, the feeling of standing together, helping each other, and speaking with one voice. Solidarity means we are one. It means your problem is my problem. It means if one worker suffers, all workers feel the pain. And if one worker wins, all workers can feel hope. This spirit can be seen in many moments in history. When workers in one country went on strike, others sent support. When a law was passed to protect workers in one place, people in other places said, we want this too. Labor Day helped workers in different countries learn from each other and grow stronger. In South Africa, during the time of apartheid, many workers were treated unfairly. Black workers were paid less and given the hardest jobs. But they stood together. They formed strong unions. They spoke up. They worked with leaders like Nelson Mandela to fight not only for better jobs, but also for equal rights. Labor Day became a part of that fight for freedom. In Latin America, workers in countries like Brazil, Chile, and Mexico also showed strong unity. When leaders tried to stop unions, the people kept going. They met in secret, shared leaflets, and organized marches. Many of them were poor, but they were rich in courage. In Bangladesh, many women work in garment factories, sewing clothes for the world. Their jobs are hard. The hours are long. The buildings are sometimes unsafe. In 2013, a large factory building called Rana Plaza fell down. More than 1,100 workers died. It was a terrible tragedy. But after that, workers around the world said, "This must stop." People spoke out. They asked for better safety, better pay, and more respect for garment workers. That is solidarity. Sometimes solidarity is big and loud, a march of thousands of people. Sometimes it is small and quiet, one worker helping another, sharing food, or listening with care. But every act of solidarity makes the world better. In today's world, solidarity has new meaning. Workers are not just in one place. They are connected across oceans and borders. A computer worker in India can work for a company in the USA. A fruit picker in Africa may send fruit to Europe. A nurse in the Philippines may care for patients in the Middle East. Workers are global. So now, Labor Day is also global. It reminds people that even if they speak different languages or live far apart, their hopes are the same. They all want to be treated with fairness and dignity. Young people today are also part of this spirit. Many students work part-time jobs. They help their families. They study and earn at the same time. On Labor Day, they learn the value of work and the power of unity. Solidarity also teaches us about respect, not just for workers in cities or offices, but for all kinds of workers. The farmer who wakes up before sunrise. The cleaner who works after everyone goes home. The bus driver who brings children to school. The delivery person who brings food in the rain. Every job has value. Every worker matters. Labor Day helps people see this truth. It tells us to say thank you to those whose work often goes unnoticed. In some countries, workers still face fear. They cannot speak freely. They are punished for joining unions. But Labor Day reminds them, they are not alone. The world is watching. Change is slow, but change is possible. The spirit of solidarity is not just for one day. It is a feeling to carry all year. It is a promise to help others, to stand for what is right, and to never forget the power of unity. That is why Labor Day is so special. It is not just about looking back. It is about looking forward to a world where all workers are safe. All workers are paid fairly. All workers have a voice, and no one is left behind. So when you hear a Labor Day song, see a red flag, or read a story of brave workers, remember, you are part of this story too. Because wherever there is work, there is strength. Wherever there is unity, there is hope, and that is the true spirit of Labor Day. Part 6. Why Labor Day still matters today. Labor Day has always been a day of celebration, but it is also a day of reflection. As we look back on the history of Labor Day, we remember the workers who fought for better conditions, better pay, and respect. They were not only workers, but also heroes who made the world a better place for future generations. But Labor Day is not just about remembering the past. It is also about thinking about the present and the future. Even though we have made progress in many areas, there is still work to be done. Workers today face challenges that were not there before, and some challenges still exist that have been there for a long time. For example, there's still many workers who are paid too little. In some places, workers are not paid enough to live comfortably. In others, workers are still forced to work in unsafe conditions. Child labor and forced labor are still common in some parts of the world. These are problems that we cannot forget. But Labor Day reminds us that we are stronger when we are together. It is not just a day for workers to be proud of their rights, but a day for everyone to remember that every person has value. Everyone deserves fair pay, safe working conditions, and respect. Whether you're a teacher, a farmer, a doctor, or a cleaner, your work matters. Labor Day also helps us think about new ways to protect workers. Today, many workers face problems that were not around in the past. Some workers are freelancers, meaning they work for themselves or for different companies. They may not have health insurance or job security. Others work in gig jobs like driving cars for ride-sharing companies. They often do not have the same rights as workers in full-time jobs. This is why unions and organizations are working hard to ensure that all workers are treated fairly. Labor Day reminds us to stand together for workers' rights. It shows us that when we work together, we can make the world a better place. Whether we are fighting for better laws or simply helping a colleague, every action counts. Every voice matters. On Labor Day, we also remember the importance of family time. Many people work long hours and sometimes miss out on spending time with their families. This is why Labor Day is a chance to take a break and enjoy the company of loved ones. It is a reminder to slow down, to rest, and to appreciate the hard work that has gone into building our communities. In many places, people celebrate by having a barbecue, going to the beach, or enjoying a fun day in the park. But even when we are having fun, we should not forget the reason behind the celebration. We should remember the workers who fought for the rights we have today, and we should continue their work. Labor Day also reminds us that there is power in education. When people know their rights, they're better able to fight for fairness. Schools, workplaces, and governments should teach everyone about the importance of workers' rights. This helps us all understand why Labor Day is so important and why we should care about what happens to workers everywhere. Today, social media plays a big role in spreading awareness. Workers can share their stories, their struggles, and their victories online. They can connect with others who understand their problems. This helps create a strong community of people who are ready to fight for change. Even though the world is different today from when Labor Day was first celebrated, the message is the same. Workers are the heart of society. Without workers, nothing would get done. No food would be grown, no goods would be made, and no services would be provided. Workers build our world. So, when we celebrate Labor Day, we're not only honoring the workers of the past, we are also looking forward to a future where every worker is treated fairly, where no one is left behind, and where the value of work is recognized by all. The fight for workers' rights is not finished. It is up to all of us to continue the work that was started long ago. As we celebrate this day, we should ask ourselves, what can I do to make the world a better place for workers? How can I help others in their fight for fairness? Labor Day will continue to be an important day for people everywhere. It will be a day to celebrate the work that has been done and to look forward to the work that still needs to be done. It will remind us that when we stand together in solidarity, we can create a world where every worker has the rights, respect, and dignity they deserve. So let us continue to remember the workers who fought for our rights, celebrate the workers who continue to fight today, and work together to build a future where all workers are safe, respected, and valued. Labor Day is not just a holiday. It is a day for action, hope, and change. A day to remind us that together, we are stronger. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Keep learning, keep growing, and one story at a time.